Hi guys, and welcome back to niallpointsreality.com with me, Neil, and this is Tomas.
Hello.
We have slacked a little bit, let's be honest. We've been busy. We've not been able to focus on demo, and we missed the semi-final and the final and the reunion. A whole week ago now. So we've got a lot to try and catch up on. So apologies to all 10 of you who watch or listen to this. This is obviously our final episode of Niall and Reality for the Mole season 13. We should probably just really race through it because so much happened and there's a lot I want to talk about from the reunion episode as well. I found that really interesting. Before we get into this, do remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, ring the notification bell, and go to niallpointsreality.com. All the links are in the description down below as well. So clickety-click, and you're good to... I don't know why I did that. Okay, this is going to be a fun episode. I can feel it already. Okay, let's go to episode 7. We have Nimrod, Sarah, Alexei, and Michelle left. I just have to remind myself of that because it was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So they start off on the beach with Gio, and they each go to the mole coffer. Obviously, only the mole can unlock it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But they each go to it, and obviously we don't see who opens it or anything like that. And the backs of everyone else are turned, but you can obviously see if anyone's tried to sneak anything. Your people are looking at pockets and all sorts.
Yeah.
I noticed Nimrod was looking extremely carefully. Like he was like a hawk ready to pounce.
Yeah. No, he's always been like a really sort of like... I always had the feeling with Nimrod from the very early beginning that he, well, maybe not the early beginning, but like gradually that he sort of knew who it was, who the mole is, and he sort of like, I always felt like he's going to get to the final and he's going to do really well. Do you know how sometimes at the beginning of the series you're like, oh, I think this person could do really well, this person could do really well, and he always struck me like someone that would either be the mole or just get to the final and do the whole show.
Potentially win.
Yeah.
Let's race. So basically, the main challenge of this episode is the ping pong ball show. I think it's Michelle who has to explain what a ping pong ball show is to young Alexei. Oh, to be that innocent. Can you imagine?
Oh, honestly, I had no clue what it was. I had to look it up. I'd never heard of a ping pong show.
I hope you had your safe search on.
I mean, I just got a lot of text saying what it was. I didn't see any pictures or anything, so I was not horrified.
I could imagine you screaming and throwing your phone away. Like, ah! So Sarah and Michelle have to look after the people on the tour bus. Michelle's not allowed to stop talking for, I think it's 5 seconds. She's not allowed to leave more than a 5 seconds. Something like that. But then also has to answer questions. Only Sarah can help answer the questions. There's a few things going on. They're asked like what Buddhist year is it and stuff like that. And then they do a terrible job at maths. I could see us doing an even worse job at that, to be honest.
Oh, definitely me, because I'm horrible with maths, honestly.
I passed a maths course in my first year of uni last year, and I still don't think I could do this. I still don't know how I passed that maths course, to be fully honest with you. They lose 1 or 2 of the tourists who are worth a money amount each.
Yeah, because it was like whenever they did something wrong or when there was a 5-second delay, then one of the tourists would get off the bus, and I don't know why I'm looking at the Apple style on my phone instead of the camera. I'm so stupid. This is going well.
Sums up Neil Poit perfectly, really.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
And then they lose money because all of the tours were worth. But I don't remember. Were people also supposed to get on the tour bus, or was it just
so no
the
one
risk
was
of them getting off
on the tour bus? But once like got into like the city, I guess they had the opportunity to get 5 more tourists by taking a beautiful
with the stairs and the picture. Yeah, I remember
no
now.
one else in it. Now I've got to say, the cojones on Sarah and Michelle to go up to random strangers and be like, move, don't go on these stairs. Something's going to fall from this. Like, they were lying. They were being amazing. Like, I would be Honestly, I think I said this to you when we were in Manchester together, when we were discussing this episode in private. The way that Michelle says, you can't walk here, something's going to fall from the sky, and then later on you have that ping pong challenge. It's like she knew, and at that point I was like, oh, this is very suspicious. Did she know what was going to happen in the rest of the episode? So that was a moment where I found, ooh. See, I just thought she was talking about the masonry nearby and making sure no one got hurt, pretended to be official. But also, in Thailand, how many officials are white Dutch women? Belgian
I don't know.
who speak Dutch, you know.
Yeah.
Probably not that many, I would assume. Obviously, they only just fail that challenge. You can just see 2 people in the background. Yeah. I think that was tough because they were a long way away. No one's zooming that far into the photo, are they? Like, there's no one on the actual staircase.
No, because the stairs were really high. And then also, it is very tricky because did you see how many people were walking around there? Like, that challenge was doomed from the start. Like, how can you make hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of people walking around in that park or wherever it was? How can you make all of them not go down those stairs when that's the one thing that they want to do is get on those stairs and take a picture for themselves? So that was a pretty challenging.
So that was a quick overview of what Sarah and Michelle did. I think that's all they had to do. Nimrod and Alexei were playing games at the same time to try and lower a big box of ping pong balls. There's 10 or 10,000 each ping pong balls.
10,000, I think. Yeah.
10,000 each
half
worth
a euro.
50p. Half a euro, yeah, sorry. I'm thinking British. Half a euro, €5,000 possible for the group pot. And the challenge is when the tour bus comes, they have to open it perfectly so that all the ping pong balls go into the
fall into the bus,
open rooftop area. God, this show, to try and explain this show to someone feels very convoluted when you're trying to explain the challenges. There's so much.
If you're watching this and you haven't watched The Mole, you will not understand a single word of what we're saying.
Who is watching this that hasn't watched The Mole? Let's be fully honest with ourselves right now. So they have to do an obstacle course for the first challenge to try and lower the box. So it's things like moving the ping pong ball with your mouth and picking it up off a hairdryer with your mouth. It was a very strange fight, and I was actually quite impressed that they managed it.
There was a very funny picture going around on social media afterwards of Nimrod trying to it was almost like he was making love with a ping pong ball. It was so funny. Honestly, I would have loved doing that. That would have been my challenge. I probably would have sucked at it, but I would have loved doing that. Even just trying to catch a ping pong ball that's coming out of a tube and trying to catch it with a hairdryer. Like, it's just how tricky. I was shocked at how fast Alexei managed that, because Nimrod tried it several times and failed, and Alexei was like, let me try it. And then he does it. First try, he gets it. And I'm like, have you been practicing this? Like, that was so weird.
Yeah, but he is an athlete, as our Alexei.
There's nothing athletic about catching a ping pong ball with a hairdryer.
Hand-eye coordination. Honestly, I don't know. I'm trying to make things up at the moment, make myself sound clever. The other one I was slightly obsessed with. The next bit was my challenge, and it is real life Pong. the original computer game Pong. They had to play it 3D. With
yeah.
The other person holding up the brick.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It was unfortunate that they didn't manage this one. I think they were so close, but it was fairly tough, I thought.
Yeah, because you're sort of like, even when you're, because I feel like if you happen to be the mole, the place to be would be at the screen, because you can sort of like make your colleague go into a wrong direction, or just delay it a little bit, just enough so it doesn't, so the ball goes through. But even if you're trying your hardest to make that challenge work, I think it's very tricky, because you see it on a very small screen, but the distance that guy has to walk is very big. So it's basically the same thing as when they had to open the hatch later on for the ping pong balls to drop. Yeah. It's sort of like trying to guess, okay, when do I have to start running? So, that we get there right in time.
It's very spatial awareness, which I would have really... As someone who, as recently as 2 months ago, walked into a lamppost, I would have really sucked at this. But yeah, they lower it one stage. They don't get the second stage because of Pong. But I thought overall they did a decent job. We then get to the bus, the open rooftop bus. All the lights are going crazy. It's a cool light show. Let's be...
Yeah, that was cool.
Production always go all out on this show. That's one thing I've learned in 2 seasons. Wow. And they release the balls ever so slightly early. And I think they only managed to get like 1,300 or something like that. 1,300 euro.
Yeah. It looked like it was going to be more. I was like, maybe half. I was like... So they got 5,000 euros that was up for stakes. And I think I was like, okay, maybe not half, but like 2,000 euros. So 1,300 was really low in my opinion. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was under 2,000 certainly. There was a thought process by the team that the bus slowed down a little bit. So there was thought process that the mole maybe had a speed limiter or something like that. I wasn't so sure, because how would that work? I don't know. Like,
I don't know what a speed limiter would look like and how big it would be, but I doubt it would fit in a small briefcase.
And then how do they have time to attach it to the bus? And
yeah, because that's the thing. The mole has to do the sabotages with the suitcase. They have to do it themselves. So production provides them the tools to do it, but they have to do the sabotage themselves. So there's no way that the mole would have had time enough during that challenge to do that, or to do it in front of it, because they're all together and it was on location. So it's not like they arrived there early and had some spare time to do that. So that also seemed very unlikely to me. But when they suggested it at the same time, I was also like, ooh, well, that would have been smart. Because you sort of like think you can expect the unexpected with that suitcase.
Yeah. The rest of this episode is at the Batman castle house. Just this weird castle in the middle of the city that's just got the Batman logo on it for some reason. We're not going to question it. It's Thailand. Anything's possible. I'm still tickled by that. I thought it was hilarious. The idea here is that they each pick a card. They can either get the first card, the ace, or they can turn over the Joker. Now, I think it's sort of poised that it could be the Joker, but it absolutely was the Joker every single time someone turned it round. I think it was only Michelle and Sarah again who turned it round. It would, if that was the card that was submitted at the end, it would mean that there was it a pass question or
there was pass questions.
Yeah,
there was pass question, and they sort of had to do a little challenges against each other, sort of like trying not to laugh. So the first that laughed loses out, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, one of my favourite jokes from this season is from that episode, and it's the Gilles de Poster one.
Yeah.
Because it's a pun on his
That did make me laugh. That did make me laugh as well. It's so stupid.
Considering I was listening to it in Dutch with English subtitles, not being able to... The fact that the joke came across funny.
Yeah, it landed, yeah.
Good. Then there's this sort of weird game of water tag between Alexei and Nimrod. I don't know how...
that was because it was them two left against each other, wasn't it? They were in a circle.
It was all lasers, so I thought it was like a laser gun, and then they kept squirting water, and I was like, oh, it's just water guns. I wanted laser guns or something like that. I
don't know. Water guns is kind of funny, though.
Yep. I guess, but it made me want to go to laser tag, so I was then upset that it wasn't laser tag. But it was still, it looked amazing. It looked insane. I thought Alexei was going to do it, not going to lie. I thought Alexei was, but he absolutely just got soaked by Nimrod in the end. And Nimrod has the decision to make as to which card to play. Does he take past questions, or does he add money to the group pot?
And it was quite a lot of money, wasn't it?
Was it €5,000 again?
I think it was. It was like a massive amount of money. And obviously he went with the money. And I thought at that moment, two thoughts crossed my mind. The first thought was, oh, he's the mole. Because he doesn't need the past questions because he's the mole. So he's pretending to be the nice guy and going for the money. And then afterwards I thought, no, I don't think he is the mole, because the mole wouldn't do that, because then you get the money. And I was like, but then why did he go for the money? Why would you not go at this stage of the game? Why would you not go for past questions? I mean, it's almost a guaranteed spot in the final.
I think we have to also remember that the group pot at this point was abysmally low.
Was it
not was it not like €15,000 at that point? So like
it was, and he did say that was the reason why he did go for the money. I thought that was very noble, but I honestly would have gone for the past questions. I would not care if I win €15,000 or €25,000 at that point. It's
because
just
we've got nothing, so any money
we've got nothing anyway. But also just the experience of going to the final and just being able to say, you know what, I did this iconic show that is so hugely popular. Mm-hmm. And I did the entire thing. I did all of the challenges, and I was able to do it all, and maybe even win the whole thing. I would have gone with that. So very noble, but
I guess there is the argument that, if there's not a good prize to play for, I mean, 15,000 is still a good prize.
Still a good prize, and there was still a few days left to win more money.
Yeah, well, it turned out to be a mistake because he was swiftly eliminated.
Oh, poor Nimi.
Poor Nimi. Just a flash forward to the reunion episode. Did he say that people would like calling him that at work now? His bosses like calling him Nimi?
Yeah. He's like, nobody's ever called me that before, but because of the mole, everybody starts calling him Nimi, so that's kind of cute.
Okay.
I loved him though. He was probably, along with Pedro, he was my favorite character in the whole series. He's just so likable, so sweet and lovely and good at the game as well. I just enjoyed watching him playing the game. It was just cool.
I'm sure you absolutely did enjoy watching him. At the end of this episode, I think I was sticking with my top three. So I think I was sticking with Michelle as my mole, with Sarah right behind, and then Alexei all the way down there. I was like, there's no chance it is Alexei. If this is Alexei, what the hell? Like, essentially, like he's been...
That would have been a mindfuck.
Yeah. Were you the same, because you were the other way around with me before, so were you still Sarah first, then Michelle?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think for me, as soon as Pedro was out of the game, Pedro was always my main suspect, and Sarah sort of like creeped up like sort of halfway through the season and went up and up and up. And then as soon as Pedro was left, I was like, well, the obvious choice is Michelle now. But that was the problem for me. It was always too obvious. Mm-hmm. And so I switched to Sarah. So after the semi-final, it was just 100% Sarah for me. I still had my doubts, especially during the last episode, which we're going to discuss in a minute. But mainly Sarah, then Michelle, and also Alexei really, really down below. Like, I also was just like, there was a slight chance it could be him, and it would have been impressive if it was. Mm-hmm. But I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, I don't know. There was nothing that ever felt really suspicious about Alexei, other than he was quite quiet. But there was,
and that's sometimes what makes people suspicious, is that and that's also what made Sarah suspicious for me, is that for such a long time, all the way until even over halfway, she hadn't really said or done anything that looked suspicious to many people, and that's why I started suspecting that she could be the mole, because it's just the perfect position to be in.
Well, we need to go to the finale. Now, just so you know, we watched the finale together. We did record our reaction, and I accidentally deleted the footage, so you're not going to see that. But we could do it.
It was so good. The reaction was fantastic. I think I probably gave you a jump scare.
You were just happy you were right. Spoiler.
Yeah. If you haven't watched the final yet, honestly, what rock have you climbed under from?
Even I've watched the final, and I don't live in Belgium. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have any notes for episode 8 because we were watching it together. And I didn't bring my notebook to Manchester because there was no room for it.
No.
But there was only really one main challenge, wasn't there? And it was sort of like they had to go underwater and say and get them to say a password without saying certain words.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were getting ambushed by like Thai Navy SEALs, or like something like there always seems to be an episode where they're getting attacked and they need to use paint guns to like. Is this just a big fight in Belgium? Like,
I don't know. They did it. They've done it in a couple of seasons where they do sort of like paintball challenge, but I always enjoy those challenges. They did a really good one, and so I've told you this before that we had 3 seasons like in the late 90s of this, and then they sort of stopped for many years, and it came back. I think 2016. I think it came back for the first time, and in that season there was an episode where they did a paintball challenge, and they had this sort of like big. So like open space, well, not really open space. There was like a bunker, like ruins of a bunker and stuff like that, and lots of trees and stuff like that. And people had to cross from one side of the field to the next. And one of the contestants was on a roof and had a paintball gun, and he had to try and stop the others from reaching it, the finish. And if he did, he got a pass for the next round. So not like a pass question, but like
an exemption.
An exemption, I was looking for the English word. So, and that was a really cool challenge. It was a really cool episode. And they've sort of like done newer versions of that challenge over the seasons.
Yeah. Now, in terms of looking for the mole in this challenge, we were both just kind of going, oh, it might be led because of this, it might be led because we were putting our bets on every single horse. Every single thing that we thought was a little bit dodge, we were like, that's it, they're them all. Oh, and then, so Alexei would do something, we'd be like, oh, Alexei, that is a weird thing to do. Of course, you're the mole. And then Sarah would do something, we're like, oh, nah, it can't be Alexei. It's it. Like, we just couldn't figure out what was going on.
But all of them did suspicious things in that particular challenge. But I think, for one of them, it was because they are the mole. And for the other two, it was just genuine mistakes, honest mistakes. I don't think at that point, the other two both know who the mole is. So they're just trying to play the game and win as much money as they possibly can. Because obviously the stakes were high. It was 6,000 euros at stake.
Yeah.
But if they failed the challenge, not only would they lose that €6,000, they would also be going €6,000 out of the group pot that they had, which was only at 21,000 euros at that moment, which was still very low. So the stakes were high. So I don't think the other two deliberately did, make mistakes. But when you're ambushed at the same time as having to answer these questions and having to listen to a story that sounds really, weird and distorted because they're telling you the story from an underwater scenery, you're bound to say stupid things or do stupid things and not pay attention enough. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can completely understand that as well. So we obviously didn't get any clearer, but the €6,000 you mentioned was because if they lost, it would be the lowest group pot ever. I think that's what was said anyway.
Yeah.
The whole point of the ambush was to get answers that they could, or reveal answers to the 3 suitcases that were on show. They have to blow up the mole coffer. And that's how it works. It's the ultimate payback. Although what payback is it within the mole when, even if they don't blow it up, the mole can't do anything else with it after that,
No, but it is sort of like a full circle moment when US contestants, you've been plagued by this mole coffer the whole season and really plagued by it because honestly that mole coffer sabotaged so many things. So that was kind of like a full circle moment of them being able to blow it up and be like, we got you at last.
Yeah.
Also, I just pops into my head. We totally forgot the other challenge in the final, which was the one with the peppers.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That was a cool challenge, wasn't it? With the umbrellas, and then they had to throw the peppers out. Oh, so cool.
Again, though, it was difficult to see who was actually the mole. Michelle made big mistakes. Alexei was not great at catching the ball. How did I forget about the challenge?
Honestly, and Alexei has done that in so many of the challenges that were like sports related, and he's supposed to be sporty. And he sucked at every single one of them. Yeah, but he sucked at every single sports-related challenge. And I was like, that's also kind of suspicious. So, honestly, in the last episode, my mind was racing from Sarah to Alexei to Michelle. I was like, it could be any of them at this point.
Yeah,
but I really did like that challenge.
I think we gave up at one point. We were just like,
yeah.
I mean, I was still certain it was one of the girls. I was more leaning towards Michelle, but I knew it could be Sarah. I knew that if it was Sarah, she had been a good one. But yeah, so essentially they do blow up the mole coffer in the end and win €6,000 there. The group pot gets up to €27,000 in total at the end, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
which is a respectable amount of money, and then it's a conversation altogether with Gilles. I don't even really remember what was said, but it was, about...
It's always the same thing in the last episode. They have a lunch or a dinner together, and then they discuss their favorite moments from the series. And then the last question is always the same one. It's always, he looks at all 3 of them and he asks them, are you the mole? And then they all say, no, I'm not the mole. So that's always the end. I love it. It's predictable because it always happens, but I always love that moment. I'm always trying to look like, okay, which one of these 3 is lying here? You can never tell, but I always hope that I can.
Well, your bets were still firmly on Sarah, with a little bit of mystery over Michelle. I think we were both just convinced that it wasn't Alexei. I think that was the only thing that we were both 100% convinced on. And even then, for a moment, I was doubting myself. This whole thing is about doubt. Like, it is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it is. It's a mindfuck, yeah.
The final mole quiz, they all look stunning. Let's just say that for a split second. They get 30 questions in this test. And they complete the test, and we get to find out who the winner is by they turn lights off on the contestants, and the one that lights back up is the winner. So, the winner of season 13 of The Mole was Alexi. And we cheered because we're like, one, it means one of us is right.
Yeah.
Two, it means we were both right about Alexi.
Yeah.
Not being the mole. And three, it just does seem like a nice guy. Like
he does. And he was the youngest of the group.
23 years old.
Yeah. Good on him for winning that money.
Imagine getting 27 grand at 23. I would be...
For playing a game. For playing a game.
Oh, yeah. Well, a giant game.
Yeah, but still a game nonetheless.
Yeah. So, absolutely congratulations. He's sort of in shock. Turns out, actually, that he got every single question in that final test correct.
That is insane.
And the person who wasn't the mole only made one mistake. So it was very, very close. And it would have gone then to time, wouldn't it? If it was a tie, it goes to who did it quicker.
No, not in the final. They always say that. So in the other episodes, it's timing. That's important when there's a tie. But in the final, there's no timing, because if there is a tie, they do an extra 5 or 10 questions or something.
Right. Okay.
Which has happened a couple of times in the past. So yeah.
Okay. Apologies for not knowing. Thank you for keeping me right. But then it's time to find out who the mole is. We get lots of shadowy camera shots. We get lots of...
Oh, I love that drama.
It's so good. It makes me just like giddy with excitement.
Oh.
And
I just see like the sort of like, I don't know what it was like. It wasn't a salamander probably, but it looked like a salamander sort of like on the window, and sort of like, it's just those the little details in the production of this is just insane.
And we'll talk about little details in a moment, but out walks Sarah as our mole. You were correct, Thomas. How does that make you feel?
Honestly, not as, last year I had it right from the start, which was just a lucky shot, I'll be honest with you. And that felt amazing.
You just picked the guy you were most attracted to.
I so did.
And you did that this year as well with Pedro.
With Pedro. I just had my eye on both of them because they were good looking. Obviously. Look, it's only natural. But I did think from the start that Pedro was suspicious, because he did do a lot of weird stuff and say a lot of weird stuff that didn't really make sense without it being too obvious. So that was also one of the reasons. But yeah, definitely. I don't know. That was the first time last year where I had it right from the start. This year I was way off again, and it was only, like I said, only until Pedro left where I fully started to think, okay, could be Sarah. Because at that moment, when Pedro left, it was, who do we still have left? We had
Sarah, Nimrod, Alexi, and Michelle.
Yeah, those four. I started suspecting her before that, but she was my main suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I started suspecting her is just because of the fact that she was the least suspicious one for me. And after a few weeks, I was like, it's often the one that you least expect. So that's why she started to go up, even though she didn't really say or do anything weird. I was just sort of like, that alone is already weird.
Yeah.
Because everyone does something wrong at some point, and she just didn't. And I was like, how is that possible?
Yeah. So, did we get to see any sneak peeks in the final of our sabotages? I can't remember, or was that all just in the reunion?
Very, very slightly. I think they did a preview of the shot where they were skydiving, and she yells, "I'm the mole!" Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah.
I mean, if no one can hear you, that's where you go for it, you know.
Yeah, but I was like, because in the reunion episode, you then see that Hilda, who was jumping right after her, was only a few feet above her. So obviously, with all the wind and stuff, you probably can't hear anything. But I still thought, like, ooh, what if she'd heard? You know?
I mean, Hilda was oblivious to all sorts, so
Oh,
she might
Hilda,
have ignored that.
bless her cotton socks. She's hilarious. Just let's talk about the reunion. Come on, let's get to the reunion.
Let's do about it. So, one, that Barley did it and looked really cute. Just saying, we need to go.
Nice location.
It looked really cute. Also, I said this last year, but I get surprised every time. The finale is huge. Like, the fact that there's so big stages put out for this. Is that a cinema in Antwerp?
I think it was cinema that this year. Do you know what? With a 10th season a few years ago, they did sort of like. Do you remember where the final of Eurosong 2023 was when Gustav won?
Yeah,
that sort of like small arena-ish type of. That was where they did the final of The Mole season 10 because it was like a Jubilee edition. So it was huge.
What do they do there? Is it just literally like a film premiere almost, where they just like walk the red carpet and get signatures and photos with the crowd, or is like they're actually like a public showing? Or
yeah. So basically, they show. So you know about Café de Mole, right? Just before they go to Café de Mole, and after the episode, they obviously discuss the entire episode at full length. But every single episode of Café de Mole, the people who are in the cafe actually watch the episode live together.
Yeah.
And then they always film the reaction of the crowd to whoever is eliminated from the show. So they did that. So they do that every year for the final as well. It's kind of like Café de Mole, but like in a big venue. And then they all watch the final together. Arena de Mole. And then the contestants obviously go there as well. They, at that point, all already know who the mole is because they watched the episode first a few days beforehand and filmed it. But obviously the viewers don't, so.
You've got to say it must be absolutely surreal being like a normal, psychologist, lawyer, whatever you are, walking the red carpet and being hounded. Like, people were loving it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know that's a tangent, but it always impresses me how massive this is.
It is.
Flanders. And I think also we need to do a shout out to Gio as well, because he's an ultimate host. Like, even though I can't speak any Dutch, he's so likable and he seems to genuinely just love everything he's doing.
He does. He's a great host. Yeah. Love it. I wouldn't want him. I hope he never quits it. I hope as long as they do the mole that he's the host. We used to have another host in the 90s. It was another guy.
It's one of those once you find the right guy or person for the role. It's like Claudia Winkleman in The Traitors here. You wouldn't changing it just makes absolutely no sense. It's a perfect formula.
Unless, of course, the host himself at some point says, you know what, it's time for something new. I'm not going to do it anymore. That could happen, of course. But I think he enjoys it too much.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to talk about the reunion. The one thing I want to talk about before we get into the sabotages are the clues. Who is looking at missing letters and subtitles?
I didn't even notice a single one.
You're listening more so than reading, aren't you? Though, like, I guess.
Yeah. Do you know what? That clue made me think, have there been subtitles in the other seasons? I started to doubt. I was like, there are. I had to look it up. But I was like, did they do subtitles this year just for that? And did I just not notice it? But no, they do it every year. But how brilliant.
Brilliant. And then here's the thing. There was a few times where Gio was saying goodbye to the eliminated contestant. And I was like, that's a really weird way of phrasing it. But obviously I can't question it too much because I don't know if it's just a weird translation, if that's a phrase and that. I don't know. But there's a few times I was like, why are you saying it that way? Like, this is weird. And it turned out the last word he said to every eliminated contestant was basically, I'm not going to get this in order, but the mole is here and their name is the mole's name is Sarah. Like, then there was
wild.
Every time the mole coffer came on, there was different notes from the Fleetwood Mac song, and if you took the notes and put them together, you would hear the tune. Who thinks of this?
I don't know. It's just almost. I get chills just thinking about the brilliance of it all. Do you know what they once did? I don't know. I don't remember what season it was. They had asked the mole with every single elimination to blink, and they would blink a certain amount of times, and it would be on TV so you could see it. And the number of times that they blinked would be the number of the person's name that's being called that's going home. So say, for example, he blinks 3 times fast. The third person's name to be called and typed into the computer would be the one going home. If they blinked 1 time, it would be the first one. If they blinked 4 times, it'd be the 4th one. And they showed that footage at the reunion show, and my mind was... I was like, what the fuck? How brilliant.
And then there was in the music synchronization task, there was the album, and if you look at the album track listing, song 13 for season 13, it's called... Honestly, this show drives me nuts because it is right in front of your face, but you have to go looking for it. And
that's a great thing about watching. At some point, we need to figure out if there are subtitles for Café de Mol, because you would love it if you love those kind of things. People come up with the wildest theories as to why a person is the mole.
I can understand that now, because what they do is how they hide things is wild. The clues are insane.
But sometimes they're also so obvious. There it's like, oh, that wasn't hard to figure out. How did no one think of that? I have no clue how no one has ever come up with a theory that ended up being right. Because sometimes it just is really obvious, and other times it is really crazy. But some of the theories, I can't really recall any of them from the top of my head now. But there have been so many times over the seasons where I was like, well, that seems a bit far-fetched. So they do maths, and then... they see a number, and then they do it. If you multiply it by the amount of candidates, and then you divide it by this person's age, and then they do this and then that, and that gives you the house number of the person, of the mole where they're living. And I'm like, how the fuck do you even figure that out?
And
people go nuts about it.
How do you know where they're living?
I don't know. But people find things out, as you know. And I'm like, how can your brain go so bonkers?
The most annoying part for me was Gio at the start saying the mole is among us, and it straight away just crash zooming into the container they were
the middle
in.
Container. Yeah. Because I don't know if it was well translated. So the literal sentence he said in Dutch was, the mole is in ons midden, which means the mole is in the middle. I don't know if it translated like that. And she was in the middle container of the 3. So, but there are often things like that where that's what I mean. Sometimes it's just very literal and very easy, but you just sort of like look past, or you don't really see it, or you don't get it.
Next series, after every single sentence I'm pressing pause and writing it down, like.
In your mole book, yeah.
It's going to take me 2 weeks to watch a single episode. But
should we get actual colored mole bookies together?
Yeah, let's do it. I want purple. You can have blue. There we go.
Yes, there we go.
Let's talk about some sabotage. Was there any that basically made you go, "Oh my god"?
Do you know, I'll be honest with you, most of the sabotages that blew my mind were the ones that came from the mole coffer, the suitcase.
And we sort of found out a bit about what...
And we sort of found out about most of those during the season. So those, I don't know which was the one that really... The one with that one blew my mind the most. The one with the little note in the watermelon. Just...
The chaos.
And then they show you... in the reunion, they show you the footage of them discussing that, and Sarah being, I've had this idea about putting a... I was like, how did you even think about that? And how did you even...
know that it would work?
that it would work, that someone would cut open that watermelon without you having to say, "Oh, I'd like some watermelon," because she didn't. Someone else did. I think Alexi at some point was like, "Oh, let's cut up some watermelon." And she must have been like, "Great." So that one did really blow my mind. Otherwise, I'm trying to remember the one with the stick, like the two sticks and the cord where they had to measure the elephants.
Yeah, and she's changed over.
So she changed it, made it shorter.
I was impressed that she put the earpiece in whilst sat right next to Alexi.
Yeah. That honestly, one as well. I'm trying to think of other ones.
Brave.
Do you remember any other, like some of it is a blur for me. Like I don't really remember some of the other sabotages that she did.
She tried to, so everyone thought she had a speed limiter in the task, which is spot about, but what she actually had was a dictaphone with a message in Thai to say, like, please keep walking or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But she kept playing it to people who didn't speak Thai.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. It was just, you just sort of like cut off for a second.
She kept playing it to some people who didn't speak Thai. Everyone was a
Oh, yeah, she did. Oh, yeah, she did. Yeah, that was funny. I remember that now.
That's probably the one that went wrong.
I also just like the moments where they show you how she talks to the camera. And do you know, she does these little cheeky... There was this moment where she was behind Alexi.
Yeah.
And she was just sort of like, with that same stick with the cord to measure the elephants. And she was just behind his back going... and doing this, where it's just like, he could have turned around right then. And also, did she not mention Hilda nearly catching her with that when they had to exchange the money or the amount?
Because she was so close behind
the train.
Her. Yeah.
Yeah. That one freaked me out when I heard that. I was like, oh my God, could you imagine if she'd been caught? How do you explain that and try and make it out like, oh, sorry.
I was just looking for a cup of tea. I was just looking for something to drink. Where's the snack trolley on this train?
I probably would not have had the guts for that. I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have been like, oh, no, it's too risky. Let's not. Would you have done it?
Also, no, but what I do love is how Jill helps. With in the skydiving challenge, say Nimrod's name last because he was wrong, and that sort of thing is clever.
And was there also not the moment where Pedro, with one of his lucky shots, was sitting in front of those three chests, and he had was it past questions or an exemption?
Yeah.
It was an exemption,
past
I think.
Questions.
And then Jill had said to Sarah, like, if you get there. If the exemption or whatever it is, if it's in this chest, I'll say this sentence. If it's in the middle chest, I'll say that sentence. If it's in the other one, I'll say that sentence. That as well is just very... Because remember when I said to you, like, if Sarah is the mole, he could have tipped her off somehow as to where where the exemption is,
like,
and he
I
did.
I forget he can do that because I'm so used to hosts having to be 100% impartial.
Yeah. Well, he's not, of course, because he's he helps her with the sabotage and he briefs her about the challenges. So but that's the fun part. It's almost not 9 against 1. It's almost 9 against a whole team of production that tries everything in their power to keep the group pot as low as possible. To
save, go play some money.
Yep.
That is essentially their job. We got to look at some people's rankings. We've got to say that we said he was always in the right place at the right time, and thank God he was, because Pedro was absolutely terrible at this game.
God. He was horrible. Like, every single main suspect he had was then eliminated that same episode, and I was like, how did you get this far? I don't even think he understands how he got that far.
Yeah. I mean,
fantastic.
Thank God he's pretty to look at.
Honestly, it makes me love him even more. Just the fact that he played it so badly and still got that far is just... That is a talent in itself. Being lucky has to be a talent.
Yeah. And we've got to say, Sarah and Alexi aren't in the final by... Well, Alexi a little bit. But Sarah and Alexi cottoned on to Sarah pretty early on. They started sort of going after her episode 1 and 2 because of the helicopter thing.
Yeah, I think they might have also been a bit lucky, because I feel like a lot of it in the beginning is luck. You have to be lucky to get through to the next episode, and then once you feel like, okay, this is going well, you start getting reassured. So I think part of it is luck, but at the I think definitely halfway through, they knew it was her, and they really focus on it. And you know what I love to do is whenever the mole is finished, like a couple of weeks later, I'll rewatch it, knowing who the mole is, and I'll try and keep an eye on not just the mole, but also on the other contestants, and see, especially with Michelle and Alexei, I'm going to do that, is see where they are in comparison to Sarah. Whenever Sarah picks a part of the challenge to do, where are they? Do they want to be with her to keep an eye on her or not? Because I feel like that's always very interesting, and you can only keep an eye on that once you know how it ends. So
I mean, I can say for a couple of challenges where Sarah and Alexei were definitely together quite often.
Yeah. Do you know with the elephant measuring as well, they were together.
In the car, they were both getting waxed in the laughing challenge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't they show a clip of them waxing Gilles? Or did I make that up?
They did.
Yeah.
No, they did. I'd already seen that. It. Yeah. Love that.
Sarah bought a balloon for Els with a ninja on it. Fantastic.
Cute. That was really cute.
I just love the casting on this is fantastic. Everyone's so lovable. Was it? But it was between Nimrod and Alexei, wasn't it? In the end, for that, there was just like a few seconds that Alexei bet Nimrod by. Yeah,
I think that was timing that he was a little bit faster, and that that has to be really harsh on Nimrod, knowing that not only did I miss out on a couple of seconds, but also if he had his past questions, he would have. Because I think at that point, he would have probably done better than Michelle that week on the test. And also, I also found it interesting that Michelle lost the final by 1 point, but the episode before that, when Nimrod was eliminated, she beat Alexei by 1 point. So it's kind of sad for her too. It's like they both knew all three of them knew who it was, and it was just a bit of luck, or just one question, or 5 seconds later. Oh, it's just tragic.
I've got a question for you, but to finish this season up, who was your favorite candidate?
Oh, Pedro, and then I love Hilda as well. Pedro, and then I'll say Nimrod, and then Hilda.
Okay, so you're just choosing the hot guys again. Okay, you're just choosing hot guys again. You're just choosing hot guys again.
Is Nimrod really that hot? I don't know. He's cute.
Attractive man.
Yeah. I just found that I have a personal affection for Nimrod because he's Wisplanish, which kind of makes me like him more because of that. And also the fact that he did not hide the fact that he was Wisplanish at all. Oh, he was just a very likable character. And Pedro, not only was he good looking, but he was also just funny. I loved the way that Pedro just was smiling the whole time. He looked like he had the best time of his entire fucking life, and I loved that. Like the way that he was smirking when he was able to get his exemption, with those 3 chests, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I might have made a mistake twice." Yeah, and then he just starts laughing because he knew that he had played them. Just, how could you not love him? How could you not?
Yeah, I loved him, but here's the thing. Hilda is so just insane.
She was wild.
And
when she lost her shoe in the mud, I nearly fainted. That was so funny.
This is the most Hilda thing ever, and they didn't say it this way, but it is the most Hilda thing ever. She obviously gets told in episode 2 that
the train
in the train she gets told that she was the 3rd best at the quiz, which is fantastic, especially because she told the camera she split her bets between Pedro and Sarah.
Yeah,
and then she just fucking forgets.
Yeah.
she just stops looking at Pedro and Sarah, and it's like, you what?
But I will. I want to. I'm going to redeem Hilda. I'm going to do it for her and say, and I said this at the time as well. After episode 2, the only thing she knew then was that she had this. You can basically say the second best test because the highest score was obviously the mole. So one person did better than her. Obviously, did they even tell who the highest score was that episode?
No.
They never told us, did they?
They never told us.
It could have been Michelle or Alexi. Who knows? Anyway, that's the only thing she knew. She knew she had the second best score. But I said that then as well. For all we know, and for all she knew, the second best score could have been a 3 out of 20. And the others the other one might have had a 4, and all the others might have had 0 and 1s or 2s. So it doesn't mean a lot. You know that you're doing slightly better than the others, but how well have you done? Did you have 18 out of 20? Did you have 10 out of 20? So I'm not, in that sense, it does kind of still make sense that when you see other suspicious things from other candidates that you do change your arrows a little bit. But she did completely did a 180 turnaround, and that was quite interesting.
It's far she turned.
Just
that makes
she's
me
just
laugh.
Chaotic. It just like I said, the thing with the shoe getting stuck in the mud, and then she grabs the shoe and she's like, "Well, where's my other shoe? Oh, I'm wearing it." I'm just that even. That's like me going, "Where's my phone? Oh, it's right there."
Yeah.
Just.
Can we get a Hilda show? I would just like to see Hilda live her day-to-day life. See how it is. I want to know if she's like that in real life.
Maybe there's a Hilda fan club.
Can we join? Can we be presidents?
Honestly, I have to look this up because do you know Manu, who gave the Belgian points at Eurovision?
Yeah.
He's one of the regulars in Café de Mol. So like I said, they always invite a couple of famous Flemish people to discuss the episode. He's a regular on the show. And last year or the year before, I think there was a woman named Connie. Not Connie the mole comfort, but like an older lady named Connie, I think. And he made a Connie fan club. And this year he said, I've made a Hilda fan club. Now, I don't know if he's joking or if he actually made a Hilda fan club. I'm going to look it up. If I find something, I'm going to...
It might just be a Facebook page or something.
Even then...
I feel like next year, if we do this again, we come up, we choose a candidate in episode 1 and we give them the Hilda Award for most.
Yeah. Definitely.
We're going to have an award for this. So that was a quick little stop. Do you have any other thoughts on this season of Demo other than it was amazing?
Yeah, not really. It's just the fact that it just seems to get better every season. You have to, if you find subtitles for other series, you have to watch the other series because you don't know who the mole is anyway, and unless you look it up, of course. Because it's just so good, but it gets better every season. And every season with these challenges, how many times did I text you and say, "Oh my God, this challenge is amazing. You're going to love it."
Several.
So many times. Yeah.
Several. Yeah.
It's just, and just now with the mole coffer, just the ingeniousness of it all is just, yeah. That's my final thought.
Yep. Ingenious is the best word to describe this. It's fantastic TV.
Yeah.
That's it for Niall Reality for now.
It is.
Because Thomas refuses to watch any of my favourite shows.
I don't refuse to watch any of your favorite shows.
You just don't want to.
Some of them. I've actually been thinking about watching. Was it Race Across the World? But it's almost half finished because the one episode that I saw was already like a couple episodes in. So
yeah, maybe we should get you watching I Kissed the Boy.
What is that?
It's a dating reality show.
No,
no
dating reality things, no Temptation Island, Love Island shit, whatever. No,
but it's hosted by Danny Minogue.
Who cares? She's not Kylie.
Okay, on that note,
Danny Minogue.
Okay, on that note, goodbye.
Bye.
What do you mean? Who cares about Danny Minogue?